going to be a loud opener.
And it's nice to meet you guys officially. I had met Robbie.
Nice to meet you.
Well, I think me and Frank had a conversation a few weeks ago that was based along the lines of, why won't this fucking thing work? And personally, it was a very high tense situation. Hello and welcome back, and you saw the title card, you know what this is. Today we're talking once again about UGREEN and their NAS system, the NAS Sync series, a name that I've still not quite got behind. You've already heard me talking about this product, this series, this Kickstarter here on the channel for a number of weeks, so you already know what I think for the most part. But a lot of you are either invested in this campaign and you've got tick tock about 8-9 days left to pull your money out or stick with this. You may be on the fence and you're thinking about going for this product and you want to learn more about it. So what I wanted to do was invite three, I would argue, prominent names in YouTube who have covered this product. I would argue some of the best reviews I found of this product series in their varying forms of 2, 4, 6 and a little flash model, and talk about what they thought. Now, this isn't their YouTube channels. I have ultimate controls. Sort of, and hopefully we will get the very, the detailed skinny from each of them. We have got Logan from Two Guys Tech. He did the first review, I believe, of the DXP 4800 Plus. We also have Lauri from TheTechNotice, arguably a channel that I would say is way more glossy than mine, and I'm not jealous at all, and that's why I'm moving on very quickly. To Frank over at Wundertech, who did, I would argue, one of the most perceptive reviews on the product, ultimately saying, this thing will be great when it works. Overall, that is what we've got. And as a quick summary for those who aren't aware, the UGREEN NAS system is a series of different NAS devices that are taken to Kickstarter. Currently, at time of recording, they have raised just shy of £5 million. There are 12,289 backers, and with 9 days left on the campaign, it's a product that has made its way around the rounds of the reviews circle. So, do you know what? I'm going to go over to Logan first, if that's okay, because Logan,
absolutely,
he did the first review, so I think it's only fair he gets a first stab at this. So,
right.
Logan, overall, what are your thoughts, feelings, and impressions of the UGREEN NAS Sync series?
I mean, UGREEN is definitely pretty decent at making hardware. When I was testing it, and I still have a lot of testing to do since they've been updating their OS. But what I've seen from them so far, yeah, they're really good at making hardware. That's kind of it. But
Logan is not invested in this company by any regard.
No, not quite.
But I mean, if I had to, not to roll in the mud, what would you say if you had to come up with a negative that you found about the product? I think one of the main things I want to put across in this video is I want to make sure people know what they're backing with this product. So if you had to come up with one good thing, one bad thing about it in your experience of dealing with the product, even during the review and after since then, what would that be?
I mean, I feel like it does change a little bit because the perspectives that I was giving in the video were also coming from the angle of that really good Kickstarter price. I feel like the normal price they're going to be charging changes the dynamic quite a bit. I still feel like it's really robust hardware. As far as the DXP 4800 Plus goes, that CPU is pretty cool. I've never
Pentium
had... Yeah, with the single performance core and 4 efficiency cores, is that right? I've never had another NAS with that, and it seemed quite capable, but I felt like it was a little bit of a letdown that they pushed the Thunderbolt so hard, and the 4800 Plus didn't have the Thunderbolt 4. But still, decent I.O., very, very good I.O., really. More than you would probably need depending on your use case. And that's the thing, is I'm having a hard time figuring out what the use case exactly of the NAS Sync series is. It's got an interesting set of I.O. and everything. It's put together pretty well. Not much expansion as far as you get a Synology and you can use the Synology expansion unit, for example. That's a feature that would have been great. And honestly, I don't know how good USB expansion is for using like a 4-bay DAS, for example. I know it's decent. Yeah, that's kind of the gist that I've gotten testing a similar product. But yeah, so more expansion would have been really nice to see. I think that's a negative. PCIe slot for adding another NIC. A lot of people probably could have found that pretty useful. But there's kind of a rough idea on the hardware. I still like it. There's a lot to compete with, especially in the used market, if you're going up to that regular price. So that's kind of how I'm feeling about it right now.
Because, I mean, when I've been looking at the product, I've obviously been making, I would argue not until recently, I've been making indirect comparisons with the likes of Synology and QNAP. So moving forward, I would like to talk about, to you, Frank, over at Wundertech there. You are someone who is pretty deep in the Synology architecture, for example. So your impressions of the device, I think, are going to ring a lot more directly at Synology users. I mean, you and I have had lots of discussions behind the scenes. I think I referenced your video in the most recent video that I did. The nepotism of the whole thing. So, I mean, for you, where do you sit on the whole UGREEN system right now? If you were backing it right now, would you leave your money in that product or not?
So I think, like Logan already said, that the hardware is great. And that's the reason most people are getting into it at this point. You're buying into the hardware with the hopes that the software will be kind of what you want. So what I do like from a software perspective is that they have tended to take a more simple approach. So when I say that, I mean, they're focusing on the core features as opposed to trying to get everything out there. And, you know, from that perspective, it's actually a good thing because it's easier for them to fix what's broken when they're focusing on a smaller overall surface rather than trying to get, you know, a ton of different applications out just so that they could say we compare to Synology or QNAP or, you know, any other NAS manufacturer brands from that perspective. So I do like that they are kind of keeping it simple. I like that the operating system's getting better. So there have been a few updates that have resolved problems that I had when I initially got the device. One of the big ones for me was backups. I still don't love that it right now only has rsync, and I think you can back up to another UGREEN device. I don't love that those are the options right now, but when I first got the device, it wouldn't even allow you to browse the destination folders of another rsync server. So it's getting better from that perspective. I do think it's getting a lot better. They added things like Docker, which, you know, whether it's needed or not right this very second is up for debate, but they are interested in, you know, making it better, and they seem dedicated to actually making it better. Finally, you know, I know this is probably going to come up, so you can stop me if I'm jumping the gun here. But in terms of their support for third-party OSs, it seems like they are now, I don't want to say urging. I'm going to make a shout out because I just watched a video of his yesterday. A channel by the name of Electronics Wizardry. He put out a video yesterday that is just basically installing a bunch of third-party OSs, and I was watching it, but what I found interesting is that he was saying that you get into the BIOS by holding Control F12. So I know up to this point, a lot of people, and if this has already been, you know, figured out already, then, you know, you could forget this. But I know a lot of people were just kind of taking it apart, getting rid of all the hard drives just so that it would boot straight into the BIOS so you could get to it. So I don't know if that's something he discovered. I don't know if that's something he was told.
That's Logan was one of the first, I think,
so that's
online
Logan.
about getting around that horrendous safety net catch there. Fair play, Logan.
Not quite correctly.
Well,
okay. Sorry, Logan screwed it up, everyone. He really dropped the ball. Man alive. Logan, that guy.
So then shout out.
Sorry,
Logan
Fred.
as well. Yeah.
Carry on.
I don't know.
Go for it.
So shout out to Logan in that regard. I don't know exactly who figured out what. That was the first time I had heard of it. So it seemed as if that UGREEN urged him to make that video, which is kind of shocking from the perspective of where we started here. They were, you know, really pushing their own first-party OS. Now to get to the point where there's, you know, videos urged by UGREEN on other operating systems. So that's a positive and a negative, and the negative portion I'll get to later. But, you know, those are my initial thoughts, at least.
Ooh, tantalizing there with the negatives for later. I just know that there are a contingent of people watching this going, go on, roll around in the dirt, do him.
Go on,
all right
say
then,
it.
we've been waiting for it. Lauri, come on, man. You've been waiting patiently enough. You've been looking like you've written about 8 notes while we've been talking as well. Don't think we didn't see that.
It's about 8 vowels that's been here.
Go for it, man. So what did you think? What was your experience?
Well, I think I'd like to start actually from a bit of a different angle, which is the whole reviewing angle of these new products that I've noticed that's going on around the world, which is let's launch a product and fix it later, and then I'm not sure if it's just going to work. I mean, only recently, I don't know if you follow MKBHD, a small channel that you might have heard of. He's done, I think, 2 bad reviews recently, and then started talking about like that. Oh, he's bankrupting companies because he's doing bad reviews. But it's because of the way our world these days is. If you look at any releases of CPUs, GPUs, they're gonna announce an announcement that they're going to say when the thing is going to be released, because the race is so fast that you can't actually just release a product when it's ready. You have to announce that you're making the product, and then another announcement when you release some specs of the product. It's still like no performance out there. Then you're going to announce that this is now available in 3 months, and then you're going to announce that it's alive now in certain countries and things like that. So when I got this one, I was frustrated. Robbie knows this. I emailed you, and I was like, are you experiencing these things as well? Because they send the thing to you. It arrives. It's beautiful in an awesome box. It looks like a polished product. You try to use it. It's just not working. I can't update it. It's not letting you do the basic things. I can't update the device. I can't access the files. I'm like, is this a joke? I was like, is this just my unit? So I reach out to you and you experience similar things. But it's very much the angle of, let's just throw something out there and, see if the cat licks it up from a movie maybe you wouldn't know. So my first... Yeah, go on.
No. I was going to say, just before this, we started this conference call, you and I were talking about this. I don't know if it tacked on, and I didn't know whether to insert it in the video or not, but... you're talking about the nature of things being released half-baked, need more time in the oven, etc., etc. And it was one of the things I was talking about when, I don't know if you guys experience this, when you're interacting with your audience in the comments and stuff, and a lot of people were like, oh, there's someone else, promoting UGREEN there, how much is UGREEN paying for these reviews? And it was, I've not really spoken to anyone that has been paid by UGREEN at all. I haven't, but I cannot say that I have never seen a server brand put this much product on the market. I mean, I was trying to work out how many UGREEN reviews are out there, and UGREEN, I counted 50 reviews in the last month on YouTube, and there was more than 50. That was me vaguely using Google's in the last month. That didn't include YouTube Shorts, that didn't include written reviews, it didn't include anywhere else. So even if we went hypothetical and said there was 50 review units in the wild, and there's 5 or 6 devices in this product lineup, and then on top of that you had the written reviews, and then you had the big gun players, your storage reviews, your hot hardware, that sort of thing. That meant there was quite literally hundreds of these devices in the market, definitely more than 100. And when I think about that, when I look at brands like Synology, QNAP, Asus, TerraMaster in the NAS sector, a lot of these brands will have 10 to 15 products at launch circling around the reviews, and a lot of the time they will require those units to come back more than 50% of the time. Whereas UGREEN there just went, send it all out. They clearly had a marketing budget which they put out. So to a lot of people that were saying, how much is UGREEN paying for these reviews? They're not paying reviewers by the looks of things. They just decided we're going to send as many of these products out as we can. And it could have gone really badly for them. It could have gone horrendous. And if it hadn't been a crowdfunding campaign where a lot of people, much like yourselves and myself, that went, well, this thing is definitely not finished, but it's crowdfunding. So it's almost like a demo. It's like DLC. It is unfinished content. And I think that was a kind of, if this is the way the market's going, I've seen a few other brands go into crowdfunding route. And if that is another shape of things to come with the way these products are going onto market, I'm not a big fan of it. I think there's pros and cons.
I think they are just very good social media gurus. They know how this works. Because what you didn't mention is I've noticed a lot of paid advertisements within some bigger channel videos of UGREEN as well on top of that. So they sent hundreds of devices out there, plus they paid. I think there's like 6 figures, 7 figures of seven figures, multiple seven figures probably, that went into marketing this thing. And even the Kickstarter thing, when I'm actually thinking about it, they are genius about it. They're absolutely raking it in from the right way, because, you know, we talked about this, Robbie, and I think you said that on the product review as well, that, you know, usually when you receive something, I've reviewed some Kickstarter products before, and you get it and you're like, yeah, I can feel this is Kickstarter product. This doesn't feel like a Kickstarter product. This feels polished, it's ready, it's like the box, everything is like, and you're like, why do you even have the Kickstarter thing? And then, sorry, when I asked them, like, why is this? And they said they want to just gauge the interest, and actually just, this is a very cheap way of getting free market research of people, and like finding way of how many people are interested in your product. For example, some of the latest marketing people, what they say is like, how do you know that a product is going to do well? Like, if you have an idea to making a product, how do you know that this product is doing well? What you want to do is launch just a site and then say to people, look, I'm going to do this. Are you interested in that? And gauging how many people react to it. And they're doing just this in a very big scale on Kickstarter product. They didn't need this Kickstarter money crowdfunding thing. They already had it with all the charges and things. So it's just a very clever way of marketing, and someone who really knows what exposure means, what social media and all these reviewers, how valuable these are. And I wish QNAP and Synology and Asustor and some of the other guys would know this as well and would use the same way, because suddenly this unknown charger making brand is got a NAS that everyone's talking about. How is this possible? If QNAP released a laptop, no one would talk about it. But the other way it will work, which means they're just geniuses, you know.
I mean, again, I don't want us to think when we're talking about this is inherently bad, like this is a bad company releasing a bad product in a smart way. It's by no means it. But I do think, you're right, this has been very clever, but it's still, I hope it still means it's a good product. 'Cause they must have had confidence in the product enough to release that many products to that many, I hate to use the word influencers because it makes me gag, but no denying that is the term. I mean, again, we're going to head back over to Logan for a sec. So when if you don't mind, you don't have to go into tremendous detail, but when you were reached out to by UGREEN, was it them or did they go via a third-party marketing agent? If you'd rather not talk about it, it's fine. It's just, it's interesting to see how they reached out.
Both.
Wow, okay, cool.
A third-party marketing agency reached out, to which we responded to their email, and nothing was mentioned about the terms of the review or anything at that point. And then a representative from UGREEN, I'm assuming their headquarters, reached out. And then we just went through that channel. So
just a question, was this US-based? Was it US-based agency? You don't have to say the agency name.
I believe it was a US-based agency.
They're using multiple agencies as well. Okay.
Yeah, they're really trying to use as many avenues as humanly possible to get these things out.
Because mine was directly from UGREEN. Mine was directly from UGREEN. Yeah, someone got in contact on that one. So again, I don't know if they'd, because obviously I'm more NAS focused than the average channel anyway. But no, it's interesting. But you know what? Frank's been in there in the corner. He's looking. I want to hear this bad thing that he was going to say. Hopefully, he doesn't just say the F word for 11 seconds and take down my channel. So that would be great. But Frank, I mean, I have a suspicion or not we're going to talk about three little letters, but I'm going to let you lead with it. Something we've discussed time and again on email. Yes. But when it came to something that you encountered with the systems.
So one quick thing that I want to mention in regards to what we were just talking about in terms of the amount of total devices sent out. I think from an extent, like Lauri said, it's genius from the perspective of it also waters down every single review. So if somebody thinks something bad of the device, there's not that many people that are necessarily going to see it, just from the perspective of they might not even come across it just because there's so many videos. So somebody like you, Robbie, I'm going to give you a compliment even though I know you hate him. Where you come from the angle of comparing, NAS compares. You compare NAS devices from just about every single manufacturer out there. You're going to probably have a better overall view from comparing this device to every other manufacturer that exists out there. From that perspective, you're going up against 150 other videos or 50 other videos, however many you found, where, especially when you take into perspective how much marketing they did around Facebook and stuff like that, the people that are going then to review or to find reviews on the product, they might never come across your video, where yours might give the most comprehensive overview just from the broad experience that you have out there. There's a chance they're never going to find your video. So it also, I think, limits risk. It's very smart, because something bad that's said from one reviewer that found something doesn't necessarily mean that the other person experienced it, is going to even talk about it. So I do think it's pretty smart from that perspective. But, it also limits the authentic content, I guess we'll say, from somebody like yourself that does have that broad experience.
I mean, you cannot argue with that. I mean, don't get me wrong, the compliment, bang it into the sky and forget that existed. But no, seriously, I mean, again, that's a very astute way to look at it as well, win by numbers. But I mean, circling back to your review, I just wanted to, the reason I want to talk mainly about the issue that you're encountering, that we've discussed offline a few times, is it seems to have been a problem that I think it's persistent, and either UGREEN were ignoring it, or it's weirdly slipped the net. But I think it's important that you talk about it, really, because it was you the one that was really hitting the wall.
Yeah, so when I first got the device, I experienced SMB permission issues. As soon as I tried to access the NAS through SMB, I had access. Okay, good. It wasn't only me. I had access to everything, and that was a shock to me, coming from other NAS manufacturers, where as soon as you try to authenticate to the NAS, or as soon as you try to access the NAS, you have to authenticate to it. So right off, it was literally immediate. I set it up, I tried to access it via SMB, and it popped up immediately. So I said, what's going on here? I don't exactly understand this. I will say, though, at a certain point, I started to look at myself and say, what am I doing? Because I didn't see that many other reviews that kind of had hit on that. And that doesn't mean they did or they didn't experience it. It just means that I started to say, what am I doing? So maybe I am doing something, different than others, and that's why it happened. But I don't think I did.
I don't think you were. I was recreating a number of things in your emails, and I was hitting the same stuff. Okay. But it was because I didn't encounter it during the review. It was very hard to addendum it. I'm currently adding that to my 6-bay review.
And that's the thing.
So
I don't want to say that.
Just to understand the issue, was that the issue that you tried to access it and it didn't ask any username and password, and you could just get in, and there was none of the protection?
It was just...
Yes.
Interesting. I had the very opposite issue.
Really?
Yeah, I had the issue where I tried to access it on SMB, and it just wouldn't let me map any of the drives. I wasn't able to access any of the SMB settings even. I could see them there, but saved, it's like nothing happened, and I wasn't able to even connect to the NAS. So that's very odd. Yours almost connected automatically, and mine was no chance of getting in. Yeah.
Just to confirm, and you were both on Windows environments, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
As I recall.
You were all on Windows?
Yeah.
Okay, that's weird. I don't seem to have experienced any of those. I connected through Dolphin on KDE Fedora Linux.
Okay.
And its SMB client behaved exactly as I expected with the NAS. So that's very interesting. I don't know if any of our NASs came configured differently. One quick question I wanted to ask too, if any of you noticed, and I was originally going to bring this up in my review, but I brought the issue to UGREEN. They said that they were going to resolve it. Since we're talking about kind of security services being open when they shouldn't be, etc. Was SSH open on all of yours as soon as you made your user account?
It was on, and in a later update it was disabled. I mentioned that in my review. I did not like that it was on. It actually touches on my side of the screen. I know you can't see it because that would be weird. I've got a list of stuff here that was the stuff that basically was me going to touch on, the stuff that I didn't really, that concerned me about the system. And just the general, because again, I feel like I'm being overtly negative, and I don't mean it to be the case. It's just, I think when there are people backing a crowdfunding campaign for a product that I think we can all agree is done, that could have gone for retail, and Kickstarter is being used as a marketing tool here. There was stuff like and I touched on the videos myself, as much as they talk about the product and the software, security advisory, rubbish. No talk of pen testing, product security, product response teams, white papers on security protocols, two-step authentication. All of these that I consider minimums in most cases on a NAS solution, they're not being discussed. And for me, they should have been there at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
They are weird things to retroactively add for a product that looks like it's going to be shipped to people in like 2.5 months. I find that very odd. And I'm not saying that they're not going to add it, but it's a weird priority to not take, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, Lauri, you'll focus a lot of your content, you focus a lot for creators as well. So after you made your video, were there a lot of creators that were kind of like, that is perfect? Or were they kind of, no, well, I'm already Synology and QNAP, I ain't going near that?
I think
what was the vibe after yours?
the vibe I think people gave for this was like, it looks good and what you get for the price is amazing. Now, I've probably been very negative up to this point, but like if you look at my review, it is mostly positive because since like they gave me the update, or like, well, they didn't give me the update, I did some magic of resetting the thing, hard reset, start, and finally it let me update to whatever update it was on. Then suddenly everything started working. And the way like you guys are going so much more in detail about certain settings and NAS things, whereas I think the audience I have, they're like, what the heck is this? How do I map some drives on Windows, and how can I make storage that other people can access? Like very simple way. They're not perhaps using this, maybe they're using Plex or something like that, you know. So I'm trying to like minimize down to, okay, how can you use it in video, photo editing workflow where people have small businesses and have to use a device through, maybe like 2 clients access this at the same time. And then from that point, I think it's like very interesting. You know, you can, I love things that have awesome design and they're really like shining. The build quality and design like amazing. So you don't have to hide it in the cupboard. It doesn't make a lot of noise. You can have it next to you, things like that, which is like all great things that a creator really wants. And I think it will be a great device once you set these things up. But now thinking about what you mentioned about all the security aspects, if people really are accessing this like from, you know, around the world, from anywhere else, but not your local network, it's like raises some questions. Okay, what's going to happen to my, you know, footage? Because we know every other NAS manufacturer has been hit with malware and, you know, ransomware and all sorts of stuff, and they've had to change a lot of things. But I think the way I reviewed it really was, okay, how kind of push that all aside, because I knew there's like Robbie from NAS Compares was going to go so in detail about this, hammering all these things that I'll just figure out how would it work in a workflow. So I was showing them, look, file transfers these and looking how the hardware acts. So I think people liked it, but just because the way or the kind of taste Kickstarter projects give on a product, people are just a little bit hesitant. And I think that's the hesitance, which the whatever 40%, 30% off that you can get on it, it helps to overcome. But it's still there thinking, I think I'll just leave it for a couple of months and then see what it's like when it actually gets released or something like that. Even though it's got so much potential, and I'm just excited about what they're doing, you know.
I mean, again, it's nice to see any kind of disruptor in any market that pushes things. Synology and QNAP arguably have been the market leaders in this sector for a while, and I did a video on this on Friday where it's should they be worried. Synology and QNAP, when I talk about them being concerned about a product range like this, I think they should be concerned, but I don't think they are concerned. And I know I'm very aware that this video is going to run quite long, and if I know my YouTube analytics well enough, I know that more than half of my audience are in the pub and the other half are waiting to go to the pub. So what I'm going to do, we'll wrap things. I don't know what your audience do, but real quick, I mean, if I had to summarise it right now, we'll go around the room right now, but me first because of arrogance. If I was backing this, would I continue to back it right now? I think yes, as long as I'm aware that I'm getting a product that security doesn't seem to be the priority. As long as I'm prepared to spend a bit more time on my firewalls, making sure I've got a VPN in place, having a good backup in place. If I had that frame of mind and that knowledge base, I think that's fine to continue back in this product. Or if I'm on the fence, to go for it. Just know that in that line that I talked about on the channel for a while, where you've got turnkey solutions, Synology, Keynote, Basis Store, etc., and over here you've got full DIY, which, by the way, I tried to build the 8-bay by random parts on AliExpress. It came to 690 quid, and you can get it on this Kickstarter for 900. So there's a small profit margin there. This product represents that one in the middle. It is a pre-made solution, but I'm worried about it being marketed to people that don't know what they're doing and don't understand that it doesn't come with a lot of the hand-holding, a lot of the software support, a lot of the security to back it up. And the other reason, of course, I should have touched this on at the beginning, one of the reasons I'm incredibly skeptical about products like this is because of store access, something that I talked about a lot on the channel for all of last year, talking to 5,900 people that lost somewhere in the region of $3.4 million to what is now effectively being called a Kickstarter NAS scam. So if you aren't aware of that, maybe look that up if you are still backing it. But let's go around. I mean, Logan, so for you right now, whether it is someone backing this or on the verge of backing this, should they, shouldn't they? What do you think?
So, I was shocked by the number of people that said they would never back this product because of the kernel that UGREEN chose to ship with their operating system. So, as a person that knows I'm buying a piece of hardware and I'm going to install an operating system that I want, I would keep backing it. For someone who is concerned about what they've done with the kernel, and we're still waiting. I don't know if they published their kernel source code, which they have to do to be compliant with the GPL. So you don't know what they did to the kernel. And even if they do publish it, to audit that much, potentially the amount of changes that they've done, could take a lot of time across many very experienced people. So if I'm buying this, I know that I'm putting a different operating system on it and configuring it exactly the way that I want. In that scenario, yes, I'm backing it. But UGOS, as many changes as they could make, I don't know if they can inspire enough confidence knowing that they've done things like the custom kernel. For me, it's easy to, chuck in a USB stick. Yeah. You can go into the BIOS with a keyboard rather than all the crazy steps that I showed, which still apply. But, yeah, that's kind of where I am right now. If you're not worried about it, if you're just keeping this in your local network, throwing on files, you keep a big collection of ISOs of Windows installers and stuff, sure, it's probably fine using their OS. It works. But there's a lot of stuff to consider there, and for the particular person, they either need to be willing to mess with this thing, or they're not going to have enough confidence in it to store their potentially very valuable stuff. So,
how about you, Frank? What's your thoughts?
So, I agree with everything Logan said. I think that if your goal is to install a third-party OS, which kind of gets back to that point from earlier where UGREEN seems to have softened or potentially even is encouraging you to install your own third-party OS, at least from the sounds of that video. I think from that perspective, it does make a lot of sense because the hardware genuinely is great. My question comes down, why did they have such a stark, flip-flop in that regard? Because, was it that they have experienced enough problems that they're saying, okay, this is going to be a lot harder than we thought it's going to be, and for that reason, let's start, if people want to install third-party OS, we don't have to worry about it. Go do that, and then you're on your own. We don't have to worry about that. I don't know if it's from that perspective or if they genuinely are just from a consumer perspective saying, we want you to do what you want with this device. And from that perspective, if that's the angle they're taking, then that's great. So in terms of backing it or not, I think you have to look at it like the operating system is most likely at this point still a beta. Are you willing to take that on and wait for it to get better? Are you willing to buy the device and then set it up to be exactly what you want? Or are you ready to just skip all of that and maybe spend a little bit extra money on worse hardware for a better software experience. You know, I think most people are going to fall into one of those camps. And if your goal is just to get a stable and reliable NAS operating system right now, this is probably not your best option. But if your goal is to get the best hardware for your money and, you know, understand that it's probably not where it needs to be from a software perspective, or you're going to put your own third-party OS on it, I think from that perspective, it's a great choice for a lot of people. So, you know, I know that's wishy-washy, more of a
no,
it depends.
No, it's not.
answer,
I think you've summarized things very well for a lot of people. Yeah.
But that's kind of how I view it.
And finally, Lauri, you've got the tail end. This is where you get to mic drop there. So,
oh, sorry.
What do you think, man?
I can hear the UGREEN cash
oh, you just got the rep over there. Is Alan UGREEN in the corner of the room going,
sorry?
Oh, look, I'm going to need you to say something now. Okay.
Oh, yeah. They want me to say back this. No, don't shoot me.
Weirdly, Alan UGREEN's middle name is Blue. Who knew that?
So,
but go on, I mean, a number of people are going to have watched our videos, and they're either going to have backed this project off the back of it or recommended it to someone else. And it's that idea about people, when most of us made our videos on one or two of their products, we did so with weeks and weeks left and saying they are promising to work on these things. They are saying they're going to do these things. These things are in development. As of, I believe, 5 days ago, 5 hours, what am I saying, 5-6 hours ago, they said, we are looking into ZFS, which could be hot air or it's them actually doing it. And now we're closer to the end of this campaign and there are people with all that money in it. The main focus of this video is, should they pull out their money or should they jump on board this train? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, ultimately, when you're for you and for your audience and for content creators and more, do you think they should back this product or keep with it? And I know it's not as a black or white question as that.
Yeah,
but
I think all of these opinions is like important to consider. And Frank is right. You have to look at what you, and even Logan, you as well. Whatever you planning to do with this, think of it from that perspective. If you're thinking about just using it and putting your own OS on it, it's absolutely right. From my channels and my content creation kind of view, it's a very good deal to kind of just miss out on, because what is it, £360 or $400 something for something like this? Is the hardware is a really good deal on what you're getting with it. And if you're planning to use it, just not so much of a server, but you just need kind of a external storage solution that multiple clients can access, I don't think you're going to get a better deal, really. And if you're wondering, is this going to be released and am I going to be scammed from Kickstarter? I am like 99% confident, take this with a grain of salt, but I'm very confident that this is going to come to the market, and it's not just going to be something that they just, let's try something on Kickstarter and we're going to scam all the people. It looks way too polished. It looks way too much engineering and design gone into it to just kind of, scam people. I've seen some other products where you feel like, I mentioned that before, feeling, I'm not sure this is this looks finished. It's absolutely complete. The only thing that I'm feeling there's a little bit of lack of when I'm going to the OS and going around in there and seeing some of the things are still like in, Mandarin. And I'm like, it should be in English. And these things just make me think, okay, I can see that why this is not fully finished yet in terms of the software side. But other than that, I think if you're getting this for editing off of, I think you'll get a good product. And with all the promises that UGREEN has, there's good things to look out for, and hopefully they'll get all fixed. But even the hardware itself, it's a mint thing to get right now.
Fantastic. All right then. Well, I think we should wrap things up, chaps, because it's different time zones. I'm not sure if it's breakfast time, dinner time, or bedtime for anyone here. Cheers. Thank you so much for jumping on the Zoom here. I mean, again, we're probably not going to talk about this again before the Kickstarter ends. Hopefully nothing goes horrendously wrong and this smashes in our face, and then this sentence I'm saying right now becomes a horrific meme. But cheers again for hopping on, guys. Again, if you're watching this, I hope this has helped you in some way, whether you are a backer or not. And if UGREEN, if you are watching this, Alan UGREEN, thanks. Cheers, mate. But cool. All right, guys, have yourselves a great afternoon, morning, evening, night. And again, there's links in the description to everyone's videos that we've talked about today. Not just myself and these three guys, but any other YouTube we've talked about today will be linked in the description below. But apart from that, thank you so much for watching, and have yourselves a fantastic week.